I feel like I know less and less. But if you go back to that 21-year-old self, like you're cocky, you're confident, and you think you know it all. And then life just begins to hit you with a 2x4, just a little bit. And we have to give ourselves credit because we are ascending and we know so much more, but then we figure out there's a different game. And there's a different game inside of that game. And then another game. And it's like, but that's the beauty of life, is that hopefully I live and we all live a life that when it's our last day, it's like we were still learning on that second to last day, just as much as I am right now, or when I was 21.
Born in 92 on the block with the Sharks. Come from a different cloth, y'all would get ripped apart. You want it diamond, then you gotta get it in the dark. We dropping nuggets like Carmelo went to Rucker Park. Now we eating from state to state, we scrape the plate. I put my eggs in a basket, took a leap of faith. I took a chance, now we grow and see the impact. Decoding success with special guests, now let's bring Matt.
Welcome back to the Decoding Success podcast, top 1% globally ranked show. Thanks to you. We are so excited that you are here. I got the fellas in the studio and Orisses, Phil Mascia, really excited to bring them into this conversation in just a second. But before doing that, I want to take a moment to thank you for showing up for yourself, right? I mean, there's a million and one things that you could be doing in this world right now, whether it's doom scrolling social, listening to another podcast, since there's, I don't know, like 7 million podcasts, maybe 300,000 are active, but you could be listening to any other podcast. Regardless, you found yourself here, and I want to take a moment to say thank you. Also, putting it out there that you can be watching this episode if you are not on YouTube. Make sure that you are checking out the show notes for all of the links that you need to watch this episode. Check out the link to the YouTube, of course, to connect to the guys. We're playing a game today, which you might have caught on a previous episode. You could check out the link to the game that we're playing, which is super, super fun. But with that being said, gentlemen, welcome back to the show.
Always happy to be here, man. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Look forward to these.
I'm really stoked to get back into this game.
Yep.
I'm really stoked to get back into the game.
I'm also it's a little worrisome because you don't know what's going to happen. It's the curveball. It's a great curveball.
There are so many cards in this deck. I pulled one the other night. I was on FaceTime, and I'm like, oh, let me just pull out a card and see what the question is, right? I was talking to another fellow podcaster, and I mentioned the concept of like, hey, like, you know, we're just trying to keep things fresh and engaging. I love having the guys on when we're not doing one-on-one interviews. And, you know, I mentioned the whole story about getting hit with the TikTok ad, and we already talked about it, so I was like, fuck it, let's just do it. And, man, I was like, there are so many cards that haven't been pulled. I've obviously kept the ones that we have pulled separate.
Did you?
Of course. I actually want to find where they are. I might have taken them out completely, which I think I did take them out completely. Actually, no, they're right here. So I split it up. The rules was...
Okay.
The blocker, but just to bring everyone up to speed, about a month or so ago, probably even longer than that, I got hit with an ad on TikTok for a game called Substance by Lovely. Now, the fellas that are sitting here, you know, they graciously join the show literally at least once a month, and we have such good conversation. But to keep things fresh, you know, we just want to have fun and incorporate experiences. Like we did a float episode, a float therapy recap episode. We played this game, and there's so many cards in this deck that we still have more game to play. So that's what we're here to do today. You guys want to shuffle these up?
Yeah, and you should also mention not sponsored.
This is not sponsored. This has nothing to do with any sponsorship or any money coming in from this card game. Honestly, it was just like a genuine thing where, you know, just brainstorming ideas to keep things fresh, fun, and engaging for the community out there, for you specifically. And who thought of this idea? Was it you?
We had just talked about it. I go, that looks like a really cool game.
Yeah.
And I think one thing just led to another and naturally kind of came up in conversation.
And now we're here.
Yeah, now we're here.
And
you'll see these aren't ordinary.
These
aren't ordinary cards. These aren't ordinary conversations.
They're not basic by any means. There's 3 different categories. One is intimacy, one is vulnerable, and one is mindfuck. I'm not sure what the difference between all 3 of them are yet, because I feel like they're all vulnerable, intimate, and pretty deep.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun doing it last time. The feedback from that episode was absolutely incredible, so I appreciate each and every one of you reaching out on social and beyond. But we're here to kick it off and have some fun. We don't know where this conversation is going. You have just as good of a guess as we do, because I have no clue what is on these cards. I kept the cards from our last game over here, and just to recap, everyone, if you haven't checked out that episode, you can grab that in the show notes of this as well. But for example, what's one song that symbolizes you? What's one thing you would say to a person who broke your heart? What would be your dream job if money wasn't a concern? What's an apology you never got to give? That was a really powerful question.
Yeah.
What is your favorite quality about yourself? What has been your biggest reality check moment, which is how we ended the episode the last time, and how would a friend describe you, which might have been a duplicate to another question that we had answered. But fellas, enough of me ranting, man. Who's picking the first card?
Okay.
Man in the middle.
Man in the middle.
Let's go mindfuck.
Let's go in.
Just to set some ground rules here, we each have one pass. Well, what did we say last time? We each have one pass.
You're supposed to announce it though.
Announce the question,
Yeah, be like, I'm passing on this card.
and then say the question.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, you can just toss it.
Are we supposed to say the reason why we're passing it?
I don't think we have to do that.
Okay. What was the other rule? Oh, we cannot pick from the same pile that was just picked from.
Right, correct.
And we can't pick from the same pile twice.
All right.
All right, Phil, kick us off.
Bro, I'll just say it, these are all really deep. All right. So this one is, tell the story of the best day of your life. And
You just gave me deja vu. Holy shit.
when you hear that, there's so much that comes to mind. I think you guys in the audience will probably know. I mean, my son's birth, this was almost 18 months ago now. So I could go into the story. I'm sure the podcast listeners, you guys have heard it somewhat. But the best day of my life thus far was my son, Philip Mascia, the birth of his life. He's my world. So I just remember everything leading up to it. I remember that day. What I could tell you is that day we didn't know exactly when we were going in for his birth. So it was like show up, which has pros and cons to it. You show up, you have a time, you check in, and some people, they go right away. Some people don't. So for him, it took what I call, like, I probably did about 150 laps around the hospital floor. The whole purpose of it is that as you walk around the hospital floor, the baby is becoming lower, or at least you think. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we did like.
Is that some Italian superstition, or
That's what the hospital.
I have never heard that in my life.
Yeah, like.
That's just high man. When you have high energy, that's just what you do.
Like
I guess.
when you get there, they say, this is all new to me too. They say walk the baby out. So
you personally?
Yeah, the female, obviously.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
she was with you.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Walk the
got
baby
it.
out. So yeah, we're walking around the hospital, going around loops, and nothing's happening. So it like I said, it works for some, not for others. What I can say is got there 10 a.m. He was born 3 a.m. the next day. So we all thought that he was going to be born that same day, but he was born the next night. And I just remember just some funny things about it. Like when you're in a hospital, depending on what hospital you're in, shout out, this was Hackensack Meridian, very good. They actually had very good food, so take advantage of the food while you're there, especially ladies.
Not an ad.
Not an ad.
Is it free?
It is.
Oh.
It's included in your insurance. Yeah, it is. For the female, not for the male. But it's good. And you have to call very far in advance, because as soon as everyone wakes up in the hospital, like wake up for the next day, you call for breakfast. If you think you're going to get it in like 10 minutes, it's about 3 hours later, because everyone's calling at the same time and it's freshly made.
Yeah.
So, good food. I remember that. And I'm just chilling in the room and kind of just falling out. And next thing you know, it was around 3 a.m. And I remember that the doctor, he said to me, he's like, Dad, come take a look. So I'm looking, and some guys are just weirded out by this. I'm not. I think it was honestly one of the most beautiful things ever. So I'm there, but I'm looking, and I'm just delirious. And I'm looking, and all I see is black. And he's like, Dad, you see the face. And I'm just like, am I drunk? Am I high? Like, I don't see anything. And it's because this is the thing I found out later on, that when a baby has a lot of hair inside the belly, it gives the mom a lot of indigestion. And she had that for sure. So I see when I'm seeing black, it's because all I'm seeing is the top of his head, and this kid's got a full dome of hair. And the doctor says, we're just gonna try. All right, we're just gonna try. So you think it's like nothing, and next thing you know, he's just preemptively just trying to get you into it without stressing you out. And I'll never forget this. His head was turned the opposite way, so the doctor put basically what looked like a hook, and basically hooked my son's neck and basically turned him around and peeled him out. And what I can tell you is, I say it's like a romantic thriller. It's a combination of like the best love story you'll ever see in your life, but also it's like an action movie. It's just crazy. Like, you're just like, you don't expect it. I'm sleepy. 5 minutes later, boom, out. And then it's just nothing but just intense love. And then you're looking at the whole experience and you're like, how is this even real? And for me personally, if I've always been a person of faith, that day deepened it tremendously. But if you're not, you're going to start thinking to yourself, okay, there's something bigger than me. Yeah. And that's going to hit. So I hope everyone has a chance to experience that. But yeah, that was up till this point, best day of my life.
I love that.
That was under Mindfuck. That seems like it should be under something else.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
So
like,
deep.
you don't know what's coming and what's not coming. You know.
Which way am I passing?
Pass it in.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Hey everyone, pausing this episode to share something with you. In a world of hyper competitiveness, I think the best quote that I can share with you is that there is no one in the world youer than you, and that is truer than true, which is exactly why I wanted to share with you today about Brand Builders Group. It's an organization I've been working with over the last few months. It is absolutely incredible, and today I am sharing with you the opportunity to hop on a free brand call with a brand strategist to help you break through the wall of obscurity. We are in a hyper competitive space at the moment, whether it be on social or with your podcast or with your blog or with your books or getting on stage. No matter what your endeavor is, this is an opportunity for you to hop on a free strategy call with someone from the team to be able to help you navigate the waters of making sure that you are breaking through the wall and taking advantage of all of the opportunities that you most definitely deserve. Again, there is no one in the world youer than you. So no matter what the problem is that you solve, there might be other people that are out there that also solve the same problem, but there is a strategy that can be placed into your initiatives that will help you break through that wall with speed. So I want to share this with you. It is freebrandcall.com/Matt LeBris. That is going to be in the show notes of this episode, whether you're tuned in from audio or through YouTube, whatever it is, freebrandcall.com/Matt LeBris.
So thanks for sharing that. I still feel like in many ways my best day of my life is still ahead of me. And I was thinking about this when Phil read it. I was like, all right, which one can I go with? And for whatever reason, I was stuck on 3 in particular. And being that this is not a show with hard rules, instead of telling a story about one, the long version, I'm going to give like the Cliff Note version of 3 special days. Okay. And I have many special days in my life, but these 3 in particular. One of them was when I launched my company, Rare Cut. So it took years of work to launch the company. And you get word out, you're doing your research, right? Delay after delay after delay. And it's like, I couldn't sleep the night before. I haven't had too many completely sleepless nights in my life. This was one of them. Maybe I got like an hour of sleep, right? And to have everyone, you guys included, from all different walks of life, your friends, your acquaintances, come together and help fund your dream in one day. People haven't spoken to you in 20 years. Like, hey, I saw you post about that. I just want to let you know, like, I got your back and I really want to see you succeed. So it was almost like, I'm going to give a really weird reference, actually. Let's say it was like a reunion, but like having been to like a wake recently, someone that we know close to us passed away, and all these people from different parts of his life showed up and the person is no longer there. In a weird way, this was just like everyone I know in my life while I'm alive coming together and being like, yo, I got your back. And it was so special. I had teachers from 4th grade supporting. So that was a really special day, and I felt like I was on a cloud that entire day. I couldn't come down from that high. It was a beautiful.
Understood.
It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That was a big one. A second one was with my company selling medical devices. I had won Rookie of the Year, top 10 rep, all that stuff. And that while that was extremely special, being on that stage, being recognized, having switched jobs and having had that chip on my shoulder of like, I'm going to prove myself, and all year being like, I'm going to show them what they missed out on. And then kind of fully coming to one day and getting that moment and proving yourself right. Like, I told you so about me. I knew what I had inside of me. And then you get that recognition. It was nice. And there's no doubt about it. And one of the things that was really special about that as well was I won something at the time. Our company had a Rolex award. So if you hit a certain number, they gave you a Rolex. And I was able to gift that to my dad. And just the look on his face was just like priceless, like one I'll never forget. And he's a jokester, so I had a box wrapped, and I gave it to him. It's for you. Happy Father's Day. And he's like, oh, what is this, a Rolex or something? And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, shit, it really is? I'm like, yeah, it is. So that was special. And the third is actually a special day in the year, which we're approaching. And it's not a birthday. It's just a good luck day, if you will. And that's May 31st. And the reason I put that together is I realized a lot of great things or life-changing things have happened on May 31st for me. I bought a house on May 31st. Wow. I remember I asked this girl out that I liked for a long time. We happened to bump into each other. That was on May 31st. I broke up with a girl on May 31st. I wasn't planning to, but it happened. And while that really sucked at the time, I think it saved me a lot of time. And even more heartbreak. It happened on that day. Last year on May 31st, which again sounds like it would be shitty, I had a few things happen with Rare Cut where I found out our ad account got hacked. And you might be like, well, how is that good? Well, it was good. It actually saved my ass because we got products. We ordered thousands of products that were faulty. So if those ads came through and I got those customers, I wouldn't have been able to sell a product. I would have spent thousands of dollars on ads and just been in the hole. So it saved me. And what happened from that was we have a new supplier, better products. Things are better now than they ever were. But that pain point came on May 31st. But I needed that in order to grow. So it's weird to have like a good luck day, but that's my good luck day, and we're approaching it. So
how much
is good.
How much do you feel like the good luck things happen to you because you believe that's your day of good luck?
Oh, for sure. Because I can also look at that and be like, me and a girl broke up that day and be completely distraught and only focus on that. But because I'm like, what's the good in this? Because if it's my good luck day, what am I extracting here that's good? It forces me to look on the positive, without a doubt.
So what stops someone from making all 365 their good luck day?
Well, listen, I do generally believe myself to be a good luck person anyways. Like, I live lucky. Like, not just a hat brand saying, but I really do love that. And a big thing, I actually scolded somebody the other day. They had told somebody, you're bad luck. I'm like, don't ever tell anyone they're bad luck. I saw them on the side. I go, that's not a cool thing to say. Because then they could get in their head. It could seep into their subconscious. Like, maybe I am a bad luck person. That's not a cool thing to put on to anybody.
Sure.
But quite the opposite. And I feel like we all feel this way. I think it's something that we agree on. And I'll let you guys speak for yourselves. But I feel like we all live that way and have that in the back of our heads. Like, no, we're lucky dudes and we're blessed as well. So I am with you. I do feel like I'm lucky throughout the year. But maybe just one day, just a little bit more.
Extra luck. A little extra luck.
Yeah.
What that reminded me of, too, is like, you know how there's so many marketers and advertisers that make a day just so that they can sell more product?
Yes.
Today is Taco Day. Today is this day. Today is whatever. Like, why not us? Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking of when you said that. Like, why not us make our own day?
I'll share the day with you
guys.
So
that's like and I don't mean like it needs to go through of it. I mean like just like you making a day. That's what hit
your
me.
Day.
Like it's like anyone can do that, and if companies are going to do that just to get extra sales in, like
why not
you can surely do it for yourself.
Oh, I love that. And I was going to say, just sometimes for like good marketing, I look at like, all right, for my business, like what can I do fun? And let me see the calendar of days, like international this day or national that day. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Just throw it on the list, and you can make it up. You're not wrong. I mean, you don't need to get okayed. You don't need a stamp, certification stamp.
I think that's cool to have one of those days per quarter because I wouldn't want just one per year. right? Just like, all right, I'm not going to get greedy and make all 365, Ant Day or Matt Day or Phil Day, but like that's a really cool concept to like put out there, and it's like bring in, hey, like whatever happens, right? Like I think there's so much energy that you're putting behind that really allows for those things to happen.
No
And of course, like your perspective helps too. Like, hey, like I broke up with someone, but I saved all this time because of that. So that is a good thing,
right,
in the grand scheme of things, right? E plus P equals O. But it's funny when you pulled that card, I was like, holy shit, deja vu, because just today, I'm sorry, this was yesterday. No, this was today. I was walking, wherever I was walking, maybe to get breakfast or like home from a coffee or something, and I said, one of the questions is going to revolve around the greatest moment of your life. And I said, so it wasn't exactly this, tell the story of the best day of your life. But I started to ponder, I'm like, what is the best day of my life? Now, just like you said, it's hard to put it into one. You have a child, so it's a little bit different. Like you brought legacy into this world. I haven't done that yet. And I'm like, all right, well, what could I say? I could say, the day my mother beat cancer, the day I got a job with Damon John, the day I met Damon John, the raising of the 20,000 during COVID for the frontline workers and to support small business. Like I thought about all of that, but every one of those days comes back to one day. It was the day I was born. And I know that sounds cliche because I was alive, but I don't remember that day. And that might sound like a cliche answer, but like I feel like that is the best day of my life, right? Because I don't know, I wouldn't be here. This podcast wouldn't exist. Our friendship, our bond, our brotherhood wouldn't exist. Being able to answer this, like any of the opportunities career-wise, like girlfriends, relationships, whatever it is, like none of it exists without that particular day, right? And I don't know what Gary Vee says. Gary Vee says like we're 1 in a billion or
400 trillion.
400 trillion chance of being birthed into this world. Like how fucking crazy is that, And to think that we're here to do it is like, that's fucking awesome.
Well, you said that might be cliche, but you know what? It's not, because how many people take every little thing for granted? And if you look and you scale it back and you think, okay, yeah, just being here is a miracle, and that will change your entire perspective if you actually if you don't lose sight of that, and if you keep reminding yourself that, it makes your days a little bit better. It makes your problems a little bit smaller in general. So you said it was cliche, but I happen to disagree with you. I think that's like. And you didn't say it just to give a smart answer, but it's a great answer. It really is. It all stems from that.
It does.
It's spot on. You think of, we don't really think of this that often, but if you want to laugh, think of this. There is so many other sperm that were surrounding you, and you were the one that beat everyone else. You were the one that won. And I don't even say that just as a joke.
No, it's true.
But it's true. Like you won. Like you being in this world, like you already won something. It was an achievement to even be here on your day one.
How cool would it be to meet one of your brothers that hasn't been born? Like I just thought of that. Like
there's a lot of them, bro.
Well, isn't it crazy that your answers were extremely similar? His was his son being
birth
into the world, and yours was from where it would be Luca's perspective of now being born. Yeah, like it's almost like the handoff, but sharing that moment.
Like connected. He won that moment. It could have been so many other different variations. Yeah, think of all the possibilities, and people eat, and then you have, I don't mean to bring, but like diseases and this and that. Like you just have this like amazing, perfect little human, and we're all blessed that we're all very healthy too. Like you won that day.
To take this, wow, this is going to get deep, but I just thought of this. With all of the possibilities that could have been birthed when your dad ejaculated, right? Like to think of all of those possibilities, it makes me think that each one of those opportunities of birth all have a soul.
Bro, I'm gonna make you laugh or go even deeper. To think that when your dad ejaculated, it might not have been in your mother. It could have been on the floor. want to suck, and think about all those. Like, if you really think about it, this is shit that I ponder in my spare time, guys. The chance of not only just defeating the other potential brothers and sisters around you, but like even just being in that moment is crazy. Because how many other times, protected, unprotected, it didn't happen. Like, it is absolutely crazy. It's a lot more than 400 trillion, I'll tell you that.
So,
but as a parent, no matter who your child is, you're gonna like. You wouldn't know if it was one versus the other. What'd you say, 400 trillion? Is that the number we gave?
Yep.
400 trillion is nuts.
You wouldn't know anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter who it is, you'd love that child regardless. So
You didn't think every sperm had a soul.
I don't. No, I don't. I still don't think that.
Why don't you think
Kind of
that?
hard to. I mean, would you say a plant has a soul?
No, because a plant isn't a human being.
But plants breathe, they drink, they grow.
I agree with that, but I had my mind expanded to this place, and I really do believe it, that this was from a conversation with Dr. Joe Vitale on the show many moons ago, and he really made me realize that, and listen, I'm born Roman Catholic. I believed in one life, right? Like, you're born, you come here, you live, you die, you go to heaven. And then, just from having this podcast, he made me realize, like, hey, like, your soul has been here before, but where does your soul go if, like, your soul is somewhere until your soul takes on life, which is the sperm that we're talking about.
But it needs an egg in order to create that. So you're saying all the others are just like
Oh yeah,
souls that didn't make it?
Good point. Good point. That's a valid point, right? So yes, like, maybe the soul finds when the sperm and the egg match. Like, I don't know, but like, I think there are souls out there waiting for that moment, so that it's kind of like, okay, like, assembly line, you're next, you go here, you go here, you go here.
But do you think it's coincidence that we ended up where we are, who we are, with the families to those parents? Do you think that's coincidence, or do you think
it's meant to happen that way?
I think so too.
It's meant to happen that
too.
way. You come back. So when I had my soul read by Sonia Choquette, I remember it vividly. It was August of 2020. I was laying in my bed. She was a couple minutes late to the call because there was some miscommunication as to where the call was happening. And within the first 5 minutes, I was in full-blown tears because she knew everything about my life. And this is obviously very metaphysical. So if you don't believe it, you're probably like, Matt, what the fuck are you talking about? You're on drugs? Like, no, well, listen, if you don't believe it, you don't believe it. But that's when I really started to re-emphasize this belief, right? And just like the fact that these conversations exist, that's like when people talk about conspiracy theories, I'm like, for someone's mind to be able to go to a conspiracy theory, to me, that gives it more of a reason for it to actually exist. Like, how could you think something like that if it couldn't exist? So like when someone goes down the talk track of, your soul coming back here to learn lessons that it hasn't learned in a past life. When I met with Sonia, she was like, Matt, in a past life, you have traveled far and wide. She said horizontally and vertically, meaning horizontally is from place to place. Vertically is from like numerous different career paths. She was like, you were, most likely you were once a teacher. You were once this, you were once that. And she was like, well, what do you do now? And I was like, well, at the time, like I just said that I was a podcaster. And she goes, that makes a hell of a lot of sense, right?
Because you were a teacher, right?
Like there were so many different things. So, yeah, man, I really think it's like and I don't know if there's ever an end. Maybe there is an end where your soul does stop coming to Earth.
So I'd referenced this book one time, Many Lives, Many Masters. I remember I told Drew about it and sent it his way as well. One of the things that they talk about is just like, when you meet someone in the world and you're just like, there's an instant click. And you almost feel like, oh, maybe we're, people will say
soul connection,
or they'll be like, oh, it's almost like friends from a past life. Maybe there's something to that. There is in that book, what it talks about is just coming back time and time again until you keep graduating, and then you can get to essentially nirvana when okay, now you're ready. Like maybe you messed up in past lives, so you get downgraded. You live a good life now, you get upgraded, and you keep going higher and higher. And again, we're all very blessed to be where we are. is this the final chapter until Nirvana? Who knows? I guess that depends on what we do here.
Yeah.
But to get here, that book would say we've lived many past lives to be as fortunate as we are to be here right now in these bodies from these families.
100%.
And it really made me think deep about that.
Another saying that directly aligns with that is, bro, people call people old souls all the time. You're an old soul. You're an old soul. What does that mean? Like that means your soul is well traveled through time and time again of being here and just getting the repetition of living life, in so many different forms. And that's why I really started to believe it, dude. It's like there really are old souls. And maybe those old souls have just encountered a fuck ton of trauma where they've had to grow up fast. Like maybe that's what it is. I'm on the other side of it, and I believe that souls have traveled from lifetime to lifetime. And, just believing that, dude, let's use Drew as an example here. Like when the first day I ever met Drew was at Domino Park Dog Park. Never met him before. My dog got off the leash. His dog was already playing. And I talked to him like I knew him for years. Same with the both of you guys. That's bro, soul connection, it's on another level. It's not just human. There's another level to this for real.
That's the majestic thing about life, is that none of us know with certainty if our beliefs are true or false. That's what it comes down to. Any walk, any religion, any faith, none of us can say this is it. We're just believing something that we believe to be true and living in accordance to that. That's why a lot of the conversations just all come back to the same grounded place of love, because that's one universal truth we can all believe with. So this last topic could be a pocket in and of itself.
Well, it's become one.
Yes,
it's become one.
We're still on question one.
This is still
yeah. No,
I just realized we only picked up one card.
That was one card. That was one card.
And not even just that question, but just the end of the question with, do you believe in past lives? The trajectory of your life, were you downgraded to a dog or a cat or a tree, and then did you come back and you keep graduating? And then I've heard the same thing, in that as you keep ascending into life, you eventually get it right, and that's when it stops. But if you don't, then you're reintroduced, and there's all these different thoughts and beliefs, and I would be wrong to confidently say no to anything, because the truth is none of us know, but we're just choosing to believe what we believe and learn.
Do you feel like you have learned the lessons that you need to in this lifetime up to this point? Obviously, you can't speak on, what's to come, because there's more lessons to come, right? None of us are going out, knock on wood. Not right now, at least. But do you feel like you've learned the lessons that you've needed to learn in this lifetime up to date? I will answer first and say that I haven't. Okay. I have not.
I'd be talking out of my ass if I said I have. I'd be talking out of my ass.
I think every few years you look back and you're like, oh, I thought I knew everything back then. And then you live a little more life and you're like, I didn't know shit. I think that happens a lot. Remember being 21, thinking you know everything? Would you even, if you sat in a room with your 21-year-old self, aside from you might be like, boy, you don't know anything about anything quite yet. Yeah. But then I thought I knew everything. Now I know, is it Aristotle? Is it all I know is I know nothing? It's so true. You think you know everything, and travel a little bit and you'll realize how little you know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's Benjamin Button almost. As I'm getting older, I feel like I know less and less. But if you go back to that 21-year-old self, you're cocky, you're confident, and you think you know it all. And then life just begins to hit you with a 2x4, just a little bit. And we have to give ourselves credit, because we are ascending and we know so much more, but then we figure out there's a different game, and there's a different game inside of that game, and then another game, and it's but that's the beauty of life, is that hopefully I live and we all live a life that when it's our last day, it's we were still learning on that second to last day just as much as I am right now, or when I was 21.
The reason I say that, I personally know for a fact that I know the lessons, I haven't implemented the lessons, right? I still deliberately choose to make the mistake, as opposed to do what I know is what should be done, right? And maybe that is enough, right? Maybe that is enough. But I literally look at life and I'm like, you know what? Like I the lesson is right in front of my face. I just sometimes choose to not do it.
Because it's not necessarily the fun answer, right? Like, discipline and routine leads to freedom, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you want a little variety, and maybe you'll pay for that mistake. But like, like I should be doing this every day. I should be doing that. And it's when we go against those routines that we know are good for us.
Yeah.
And we bite ourselves because you know better. We all know better. And I think what it comes down to is, you asked, the question was like, do you think you've learned all the lessons you need to know? And
up to this point,
this point, I think anyone that says yes they might be like, I learned a lot, but if you're like, yeah, I know it all, then
yeah,
well, I got news for you.
Let me ask another question. Do you know anyone that you know for a fact has a soul that will come back to Earth?
Yes.
Yes.
So many.
Bro,
Yes.
Sometimes I meet people and I'm like, you have such a young soul.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it's not to critique, right? I mean, I'm sure there's people that have met me and they might say the same, but I'm like, yo, like, a lot to learn. A lot to learn.
Yeah. Some of us have more to learn than others, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think everything kind of circles back to one of the quotes that we say on the show probably more than any. And we didn't invent it, but we do reference it a hell of a lot of times. It's how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? Mm-hmm. So you're like, hey, I don't know all the answers, and yeah, no one on this planet that ever existed does, right? But when like, I think that's the lesson you can learn is being consistent.
Yeah.
And if you learn consistency, I think you're learning a hell of a lot. And I think you'd also still be smart enough to be like, yeah, I don't have all the answers, but when you can build yourself up to being that consistent, I think that's a good place to be. And maybe you just up your odds of going to that next stage.
Yeah.
Consistent with the right action.
Right.
From the lesson.
Yeah.
So we can know what to do, but do we actually do it?
Mm-hmm.
And usually that depends upon our identity in that moment, how we're feeling, our mood, our ego. But when we more consistently than not do the right thing in the right moment, that's when we've hit that test. That's when we've passed that test, that we can go on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And then inevitably there'll be another thing that we'll have to learn from. But that's life. So that's the journey.
One fucking question got us down this rabbit
Jeez.
hole. And you're up next.
Right.
Part of the rule, I now remember, you can't pick the same category twice. I don't know if we talked about that.
Yes.
Not
Correct.
in a row.
Right.
So that was mindfuck.
All right. I'm gonna go vulnerable.
I feel like that last one was one of them.
Yeah. I don't know. Lovely. I don't know how you categorize these, brother, but I think they're all vulnerable.
Or maybe it's
pretty
just
much.
us. I don't know.
They're all intimate, vulnerable mind fucks.
Yeah.
It's really all in the same. But all right, let's see what we got here. How's your mental? Really?
Oof.
That's a powerful question.
So, great question. So I actually had this conversation with somebody last week. I think that for me, I think that's one of my strengths. Again, not by no means do I mean I have things figured out, and there's a lot of things I'm still working on, for sure. But I do feel like I'm able to work myself out of just about everything. And not solo, you have friends, you have family, you talk it out, you do different things, you stay active. But to this point, I feel like I'm able to figure it out. I feel like that's the spice of life, is to be like, okay, challenge, how do I overcome this, and how do I better myself from it? So even now, I spoke to a buddy earlier today. I'm like, I feel a little off today. It's just how I felt today. For no real particular reason. But there's a few things I like, I'd like to either work on, or I have some looming decisions that are just like, they're up in the air right now. I'm just like, okay, my life can go in one direction if I choose door number one. If I choose door number two, it's going to be a completely different path of life. And these have been weighing kind of heavy on me. And they're not just like, what do I eat for lunch? But it's more like, okay, where will I end up if I make these decisions? And it just got me in a really deep thinking pattern, which is not a bad thing. Some people are afraid of thinking too deeply because they feel like they can go into a hole, right? So right now, it's an interesting time for me because I feel like there will be a lot of things changing in the next probably 6 to 12 months. They could be very exciting, but I just feel like there's going to be some things happening decision-wise, based off decisions I make, that could alter where my life goes. And I'm excited for them, but at the same time, you know, if I'm being realistic, I'm weighing them out heavy, and I don't make decisions like this just lightly. I do it with thought. So yeah, I'm in an interesting place where I feel, and even like today, like I had my morning coffee, and I went to my balcony. I just sat for a while, looked out, and I was just like, just remembering to take this moment in because I haven't had to make those decisions yet. So I don't have to be there mentally in this moment during this coffee, you know, this like therapeutic coffee that I'm holding in my hand. And I really was just having the coffee. And that little just time out of the coffee was heaven. Yeah. Because I was thinking about all these things prior to, and to be honest with you, after the coffee, I got back to thinking about it. But just in that time, I'm like, this is me time. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So that was, even though I didn't meditate today, one could say that was like some form of meditation. But I digress. I do feel, like I said, pretty good right now.
The question, I don't know if you could see it, there's some invisible ink. It actually says, how was your mental really after the Knicks loss? I'm going to date this podcast a little bit. That's
invisible ink.
That's the invisible ink. Dude, rough.
Listen, yes, I'll tell you rough. Rough's being a Mets-Jets fan, all right?
That's rough.
So,
being a Mets fan alone.
That's not easy. And listen, at the same time, I do, you know, there's one school of thought where people say, hey, if you don't win a championship, it's a loss. I disagree. Giannis got a lot of slack for that last year. He's like, not everyone wins a championship every single year. Jordan didn't win a championship every single year. But where we were from last season to this season, it's a different team.
Huge improvement.
And I say this all the time, man, and I stand by this. I've said this for forever. When the Knicks are hot, the city is on fire. And the city was on fire.
They still got the Rangers. I mean, like I said, I'm dating this episode, you know, but the city's fucking buzzing.
Yeah, it is, man.
The city's fucking buzzing. You should have seen your face when I said there was invisible ink. You were like, fuck. Like,
I really thought I misread the question. But we'll go in reverse order.
I thought you were going to comment on the 3 dots.
Dot. Now, how's your mental really? I think I was just mentioning it to you guys. Like, coming in here today, there's been a feeling of overwhelm, but one of the things that I've come to realize is the mental being impacted for me personally as of late is less of anything like monumental and more so my perception of all that I have going on, right? Like I looked at a video from Ryan Serhant the other day, and Ryan's been on the show many moons ago. Ryan, if you're watching this, make sure you come back on here, brother, because every time I reach out to your team, I'm getting curved. But I mean it, like the video he posted, like he showed his schedule. And I was like, dude, if I had his schedule, I would really be overwhelmed. And I'm looking at mine. I'm like, yo, my schedule's not bad, but like, why do I feel this, not like a dooming sense of overwhelm, but like a sense of just like pressure. And I mentioned to you guys, like in moments of this, in moments of conversation, I'm fine. I'm present. It's in moments of the 35 to 40 minute drive to the studio where when I'm not on the phone with someone and I'm just by myself, even listening to music, that's where I feel like this sense of angst and buildup and anxiety. And it's like, oh goodness, like I have so much goodness. You hear me?
I've never heard you say goodness. That's why I laughed.
Holy fuck, I have all of this going on. Like I said, it's more so a perception thing, and I'm trying my best to just navigate that as of late, because what I have on my plate are things that I want on my plate. At the same time, there's a level of newness to the thing, not nudeness, newness. For example, like doing the pod in studio, completely in studio. We've done nothing virtually. You know, new roles professionally, a lot of new in that new role professionally. Just like uncharted territory to an extent, and I think that adds to that sense of overwhelm at times. But otherwise, I mean, outside of the overwhelm, like, things are clicking, things are clicking. But it's definitely been a matter of just like surfing that wave and really just trying to stay on the fucking surfboard.
Well, you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're doing it. And it's interesting when you said that. I think there's a lot of people. I think we even talked about it, Ann and I recently, the Arnold Schwarzenegger biography. So
Gotta be careful how you say that last name.
Yeah. Well, I said it good. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. But anyways, he has to distract himself literally almost every minute of his day, or else his mind will start to hit a negative loop, and he'll start to think about things that he either regrets or he wishes he did differently. And when I watched that show, and I realized, as successful as he is, and just the amount of insane things he's done, and mastering this part of his career to this part, he just still doesn't feel like he's had it all.
That's so interesting.
And I noticed that. I was able to pick up on that because of just life and the work I've done and the awareness. But when I say that, to say that he constantly has to distract himself, and it's something to note off what you said, that when you're in these conversations and you're flowing, or maybe you're in work, or you're in some sort of hobby that you love, like, you never have that thought, but it's in those gaps of time that then our mind can start to race. So it brought me back to that Arnold Schwarzenegger thing.
But I mean, like, when I hear you say that, to me, what he's doing is just avoiding.
Yep.
Right? Like, he's and to me, that's not That's not a healthy habit.
Nope.
And I think that's definitely something that I have done for so long in so many different capacities that actually impacted my mental health negatively. You guys know what I experienced in 2022. Like, dude, that was a lead up of avoiding what I was feeling. So, for example, for the person listening to this right now, in 2022, I just avoided so many things that were giving me like sensations and negative feelings and anxiety and whatnot, and that put me in a really dark hole. And when I hear you talk about Arnold, like, keeping himself so busy so that he doesn't go through that negative loop, I actually want to do the opposite of Arnold in that scenario, right? Like, do I want to feel overwhelmed? No. Like, I definitely don't want to feel that, but at the same time, at times I look for relief by avoiding, for example, or really by distracting. Like, I sent a couple voice notes on my way over here, as opposed to, via text message, as opposed to just like being by myself, so there is a level of distraction for avoidance. But yeah, like, that's what I'm working on not to do is avoid.
But would you say, it's hard for me, I know what you're saying. So you mentioned Arnold, like, oh, he might be avoiding, but then at the same time, everything this guy does, he's conquering. So yeah, it certainly works for him. And maybe with someone like that, because you might be like, dude, you did all these things. Are you not like, do you not feel that? Are you not happy with your accomplishments? But I think when you have that mindset, it's just like, okay, yeah, that's the past. That'd be like me talking about my glory days in football in high school. That was the past me. But like, everything this guy touches turns to gold. Yeah. And like, his willpower, his determination, it's so admirable. But at the same time, you wonder, like, sometimes with people that have that mentality, the only downside could be like, are you happy? Mm-hmm. And if you are happy and you're conquering like that, then who's better than you? Own. That's the best.
To each their own.
But so long as you're happy when you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
Because some people are just like, some people's version of happy is like, I'm just going to be on the beach every day for the rest of my life, and this will make me happy. That's some people, right? For some people, it'll be like, that will drive me nuts after 5 days. Mm-hmm. To each their own. So long as you're happy. But like, I know what you're saying. I sometimes wonder the people that like, it's always on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. Okay, that could be looked at as like, oh, you're a winner. Like, get that killer mindset. Or it could be like, do you ever like take this in and grasp what you've built? And I think maybe somewhere in the middle is the answer.
Well, I think it goes back to what we were saying in the beginning of this episode, right? I mean, what's your soul here for?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I very much so noticed when I watched that bio that he is exceptional at conquering something new that he wants to. It's like a game. It's how can I be the best at it through just higher desire, discipline, working harder and longer than anybody else. But he's always, when he's tackling something new, inevitably you're not going to be perfect. Nobody is. and you're gonna have things that you wish you did differently, and have some bumps in the road. And he had some bumps that he, instead of addressing them or working through them, kind of like Matt said, or hitting that storm like face on, he would advert to what's the next trophy. And I look up to him in some senses because he's exceptional at that, but then also too it is from what I saw. I watched it and I felt sad. I felt sad for him. I felt sad for him, you know? And maybe that's just the point in my life where I'm at, you know? Like when I see him with the crazy double bicep pose and like what he's conquered, you know, the bodybuilder to the movie star to this to that, but you know, people aren't asking him in interviews like, how's your mental, really?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so the part that you felt bad about was what? His divorce, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you could be like, there's not that much to feel bad about.
Yeah, his divorce.
Was
his
this on
childhood.
Netflix? Is this what you're referring to?
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it.
No, it was good. Yeah, his divorce, some decisions regarding that, his childhood, his family life. I think I might be saying it wrong, but something with his brother. So he just had a couple things that were just too painful to keep reassessing. So it was on to the next. And I think he said that. He said, I don't let my mind go there.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about him? He had learned to do transcendental meditation.
Wow.
And, well, the wow is usually in the doing. What's more wow is that he learned how to do it. And after, I think it was like 2 weeks, he's like, yeah, I don't have to do this anymore. I get it. And he's like, actually don't have to do the meditation. I put myself in the mindset of having done the meditation, and I get right to the end, and I feel amazing. What? Is that for real? I don't know. I'm not him. But like,
yeah,
isn't it like the whole point of meditation is the silence, is the timeout? And he's like, okay, I've achieved the timeout. I went straight like, from, like I don't know how he does that.
I don't know if you realize, but you started to speak like him, like accent wise.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Amazing.
It started to
sticks.
come out a little
Hope
bit.
it sticks.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I mean, maybe.
Hopefully I can lift like him too. We'll see.
Yeah, right. I mean, maybe, you know, like, I don't know, that people, you know, what I'm thinking about is how people just envision, right, like the feeling of what they want to accomplish, and maybe he's at that particular place, and if it's possible, like, holy shit, I have so much to shoot for. But like, if he knows the outcome and he's able to just in the snap of a finger get there, sick.
He poses what he wants. He pulls it, you know, closer to his reality, like
That's sick.
in a second. Yeah. That is sick.
That's sick.
For me, I was thinking a couple things. So how's my mental? So, there's seasons in life where I feel like I'm on top of the world, and there's seasons where I get rocked.
Yeah. So,
I'm currently in a season right now where I feel like I've been rocked. But what I can say is a couple things. The seasons where I've been rocked before, I've always stepped out of it. Like I figured out a way. Like I'm alive, I'm here, and I'm better because of it. And then there's some seasons in my life where it reminds me of a Tiger Woods, what he did, and he was mocked for this. Tiger Woods was the best golfer in the world, and he purposely effed up his swing on purpose to be just 1% better. So he willingly chose to, step back to then, take 10 steps forward. So I can't say what I'm in right now is totally 100% willing, but if I think of that and I think of even the greatest at what they do can get through it, I know I can. And in some ways, it's like Ann said before, it's perspective. It's I know I'm here, so what else can I tap into that I haven't tapped into before to make myself get through this faster, smoother, or find the lessons in it? So that could be therapy, that can be faith, that can be connecting on a deeper level with loved ones like parents, asking certain questions that you wouldn't have asked, certain vulnerability, certain, honestly, moments of savagery, like just stepping into something hard that you've never done before. So this is all like a learning opportunity, but I think the point is that it's not my first time, it won't be my last time. So this is the season I'm in, and this is where I'm at.
I want to share something, going back to what we said earlier. you just mentioned like what you're experiencing, like there's not a willingness, right? But like what you're experiencing, and I this is repetitive. It's just funny. Like now this is on top of mind, so I'm just gonna keep repeating it. But like, it's not willing. Like you're not willingly putting yourself in this, but there's that soul, that greater power that's putting you in it, right? And that which is ultimately guiding you is willing to do that, right?
And is putting me in this situation. And I believe, partially it's that and partially it's free will. But I'm being put in this situation because I haven't learned the answer yet.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what we said before. And until I do, I'll keep repeating it.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Well, you talked about like savagery and, basically like you gave the Tiger Woods example of like unlearning everything he's learned to get ahead and be willing to be uncomfortable for a really long period of time. And how many people avoid being uncomfortable at all costs, even though, as we know, that's where all the growth comes from, right? No, but you do that all the time. You always put yourself in uncomfortable situations.
Yes and no.
I think. But you have to be in that awkwardness, like, I don't know anybody at the party, but I'm going to go anyway. And then you meet somebody really cool, or you're just like a little bit better of a communicator because of it, right? And, we talked about best day of our life. Yeah, I gave 3 examples, but not really a good rule follower. But all the examples that I've given, and I have to separate because you guys talked about something way deeper about being brought into life. But my examples were all based off putting in work and time and just kind of having that chip on my shoulder. I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. That's my goal. I'm going to get it. And then I got to look back and be like, yeah, fuck it, I did that. But because I got into that savagery mode, because I put in that work. So yeah, even though right now you're, as mentioned, you're going through a different kind of season in your life, different time period. But I firmly believe that when we have one of these in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it is, this will be part of the greater story of Phil Mascia. And I am now here, and I'm this better man because of the season I went through many moons ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I heard this once. How boring would life be if every day and everyone was exactly the same?
Yeah.
How boring would life be? We would know what to expect.
Yeah.
Would we be excited about tomorrow or the next year? So and I think living in that state of uncomfortableness, I shouldn't say, living it 365, 24/7, you want to, obviously, with this question, you want to have your mental health, but are you really serving yourself if you're not up against the wall for a certain portion or period of your life? And if you find that you are just on easy mode, well, then that's when, like my Tiger Woods example, that's when they voluntarily push themselves into a corner to say, this is how I grow. And they're able to tap into that, almost like that intellect, at will.
So I don't follow any of the storyline of what I'm about to say, but what you said, imagine every day on easy mode. I don't know why my brain went here. I'm going to give an example of somebody that was born into the easiest mode, Prince Harry, right? And he obviously went through some trauma as well. But like, as far as just like a life of luxury, do whatever. Hello, everyone's always nice to you. Everyone's like maybe not genuinely nice, but fake nice, and get everything you want. Never have to work for anything. And he completely distanced himself from that. He wanted out of that. So, and then I think people will be like, well, he has everything made. Why would you ever walk away from that? And then some people will be like, how can you complain about anything? You're rich. Like when people say that, I'm like, you don't get it, man. Like you don't get it. That doesn't make an easy life. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes the difficulties are, every movie we ever watch, there's difficulties, right? There's the hero, and then they overcame some struggle, something in their life they overcame, and then we pay money to watch these movies because we find a piece of us that can relate to that character. Otherwise, who wants to see? It'd be the Truman Show.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Even the Truman Show had a twist at the end.
Yeah.
I think it might be time for you to turn a card.
It is time for me to turn
I think we're just getting through one round on this one.
Holy shit. We've been going for an hour on 2 cards.
Really? Oh, wow.
We've been going for an hour on 2 cards. I'm going to pull from a stack that we haven't pulled from.
I'm down
Right.
to obviously keep it flowing.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I
Enjoyed
hope
it.
so, because you guys are under contract to be here for a little bit longer.
All right,
Um,
call my agent.
So we went with vulnerable. We went with mindfuck. I pulled one out of intimacy. I might have already stated it. What is your most controversial opinion? I might just pass because I don't even have an answer for this.
Is it that controversial?
No, I'm just.
That's what we're all thinking.
I just said maybe I already gave it away in the beginning of this episode. That they're I'm gonna pass on it.
That's your prerogative.
Let's pass. Let's pull.
So you know why? Because you messed with the
you
deck.
said that last time too. Should I just pull from the top?
Yes. But you already shuffled it, no?
Well, now I pulled from the top. Not good. No, this isn't true. That's not true. That's not true. How do you express yourself when you are angry? And I think, to be fully transparent, I've expressed myself very poorly in the past when I'm angry. I told the story the last time on this show when we did the card game, going back to St. Patrick's Day of 2010 as a senior in high school. I let rage get the best of me. Now, I'm not hanging my head on that scenario by any means. As mentioned, I was a senior in high school, and I think that my expression of emotion has definitely developed over the course of time. Nowhere near perfect still to this day, though. I think a lot of times what I do when I experience emotion that is, let's just say, quote unquote, unwanted, is I shut down to an extent. Going back to the word, I think I become avoidant of actually expressing it, depending on the situation. I look at, I don't know the last time I was actually angry. I think things that I feel are more so, as mentioned, like I've been feeling overwhelmed, but I can't literally think of the last time I felt angry. But how do I express myself when I am? By default, if I let myself operate on automation and just like hamster wheel, it's probably more of a shutdown than it is of an actual expression. How would I want to express myself when I'm angry is a different story. I think I would prefer to really have a more systematic approach to it, where it's like, number one, understanding why I'm angry in the first place. Like, no one can make me feel something. It's what is inside of me that's really being rubbed up on right now. What wound is being rubbed up on right now? Because you can't make me angry. You can't make me sad. It's just, sure, are events provoking? Yes, but what are they provoking inside of you? That's a belief that I'm under. And I think number one, like if I were to express how I feel, it's like I need to understand why it is that I'm feeling that way. Number two, like really taking that conscious decision to make sure that I'm not taking it out or projecting what's inside onto other people. Like that's how I would prefer to do it. Like I said, there have definitely been moments of rage. There have definitely been moments of, I don't even know what to call it, just, I guess, not healthy expression,
What's the last thing that, and it doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10 type thing. What's the last thing that got you angry in like the last few months?
The Knicks losing. The Knicks losing.
Okay, what's the last thing that got you angry that was within your world that you can control? That you were the center of the anger? Or a person affecting you made you angry, not a sports team?
I really don't even know the answer to that, and I think that's so crazy to think. Like, I feel like anger isn't something... I'm lying. Okay, it's coming to me. I think it's more so provoking in regards to family ties. I think those are the ties that hit the hardest, or those are the moments that hit the hardest, right? They're the closest to the heart. It's those intimate relationships. Probably, just like having the mother wound struck, right? Or, just the repeated overwhelming life experience. I almost called it a trauma, but like, yeah, to an extent, yeah. So I think it probably has something to do family related, I think those...
I'm sorry to interrupt
No,
you.
go ahead.
Okay, so that's happened fairly recently. How would you have reacted? So how would you have reacted differently 5 years ago?
5 years ago, man, I probably would have either shut down. I probably would have either shut down or I would have matched the energy that I was given.
Okay. Have you ever been at any point in your life a punch the wall guy?
No, because I think growing up, and I'm so transparent about this, bro, I've gotten the belt. I've gotten the remote thrown at me. I've gotten chased, like the whole nine. So when it comes to violence, I don't think that's what I opted for ever. Yeah, like I've never punched a wall. I've never like punched a pillow. I've slammed a door. Like I'm a door slammer more than a wall puncher. You know, I'm also, you know, I have delicate hands. I'm cautious of them.
Yeah, I never get why people ever punch a wall.
Yeah, it's like,
never
bro,
turn
like,
out
what
well.
are you doing? You know,
It's never going to turn out well, especially when you're a pitcher. In MLB, we've seen that happen so many times.
Oh, bro. And who else? Amari? Was it Amari?
I think it was Amari.
I think it was Amari, right? What did he punch? A glass window, right?
Was it like a soda machine? Something. I don't know.
He punched something, and that hurt our playoffs.
Yeah.
Amari.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
People are doing when you say like punch the door, punch the window, like it's what they saw growing up.
Of course.
It's what they were around.
Totally.
So if that's what they saw growing up, they're going to imitate that behavior. That's just and that speaks to how we deal with anger. So I'll say a couple things. So I used to think that question, how do you express yourself when you are angry? I used to think that anger was such a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that it's something that I want to feel all the time, but it's telling you something. It's teaching you something. And it's your body saying something, and you should listen to it. It's valid is what I'm getting at. Anger is valid to a certain degree. Anger is always trying to teach you something. So for me, I would say sort of like Matt, if I wasn't in a situation where I needed to be there or I felt super connected to it, you know, grounded, and just walk away. And maybe still feel it later. I can't say that I just forget about it. It's still there. It starts to, you know, go deep on like the cellular level. But I would just, you know, this isn't for me, kind of walk away. But there's certain situations where inevitably in life you just can't. Like Matt said, those tough family relationships or certain things that mean a lot to you. And think about how you act in the beginning of it versus, you know, further on down the road. And what I can say is I've seen the change even in myself. You know, I could be cool, calm, collected, grounded, but what happens is over a certain amount of time, you start to match that energy. And really what you're doing is that you're just in a situation in that moment that you don't want to be in, and you're actually partially sad for yourself, partially angry at yourself, or lost respect for yourself. And that's where, because if you didn't feel those underlying tones, you just wouldn't care.
Yeah.
You would just move on. You know, so anger also compounds, guys, like the longer you're in it.
Yeah.
And the longer you stay exposed to something, it compounds. So that's one thing that I've learned. Being grounded is the opposite of how I should act, and we all should act when it comes to that. If you're just solid in who you are and the situation, and you understand your triggers, you can work through it. And that's honestly what I believe is a big part of being a man. So how I would work through it, you know, from either higher self is just being grounded. 100% is being grounded in it, because you can walk away from it, guys. And your anger doesn't have to erupt in any way that's not serving you.
Mm-hmm. You made me think deeper on that, and I loved what you said, because it's true. If we harness an emotion and we don't feel it or we don't let it be, we repress it, we suppress it, we will continue to see life through that lens until it's actually brought to that surface, right? So if you experience that anger, if you experience that whatever emotion it is, and then all of a sudden experiences in life start to look like that, or you start to experience things and it seems that everything's revolving around it, like that is the sign right there that there's something going on. And I look at that and I'm like, well, Matt, like why do you experience this emotion so much, or why do you experience that emotion so much? And it's like, dude, like I had 27 years of never ever feeling the emotion, right? And it's so important. And I mean, it's not, something that happens overnight, but man, like I think about that and I'm like, what am I holding on to?
And sometimes we're not even conscious that it's there. Like you may not have not felt it for 27 years because you said, I don't want to feel it. Sometimes we're just like not even conscious of it. But then the minute it gets brought up through one situation or one person or one conversation, now it's like, oh shit, where else am I not seeing this or showing this? And it just starts to come up, and now we see life, like you said, through that lens. So I can say for me too, for a while, I wasn't aware or conscious of certain things until that first episode brought it out. And then it's like, okay, now I'm starting to see, and like, where's this coming from, and how did it show up in the past, or how will I utilize it for the future? So it's huge. We don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
Is what it comes down to.
Guess that's on me. All right, how do you express yourself when you are angry? I truly do not consider myself an angry person.
Yeah.
I don't really get angry that much. I get disappointed. I get irritated. I've been betrayed. All those things you could be, generally speaking, yeah, it makes me angry. But like, I think if you focus on anger, a bad side's gonna come out of you when you respond with anger, right? And sometimes it's necessary. On the basketball court, you get pushed, right? Want to respond with anger? Like I'll show you. Tap into that. But for 99%, maybe 95% of situations in life, I don't really go there with anger. Now, if somebody's trying to like assassinate your character, it's a good reason to get angry, right? If you have to defend yourself, if someone comes at your family, your child, your girl, like any of that stuff, that'll invoke anger. But I think most situations, a lot of people jump to anger as opposed to being like, no, I'm actually really disappointed. And I think that's probably something I feel, if I was to like really like break it down and define it deeper, I think there's disappointments that I've experienced. And again, maybe in the past I would have been like, I'm angry about so and so, but I usually just talk things out, man. I talk to you guys, I talk to my family, I talk to myself, and I kind of said this in one of the things earlier. I think it was the first question I answered is I try to like just take a little time. And I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. And I usually do. I don't really like, the hotheadedness of being like a teenager, right? I mean, you're in high school. And even then I wasn't even that. I mean, you grow and you learn. Like there are things that have certainly gotten me angry. And when I responded with anger and I reacted with anger, I would get angry at myself for doing that. I gave an example on the show a couple years ago. Somebody drove into my car on the highway. We went off to the side. We exchanged numbers and pleasantries. I'm like, are you okay, man? He's like, yeah, I'm good. Are you okay? He's like, this is all on me. I'm so sorry. What can I get you? Can you want me to get you food? Like, he was just being such a gentleman. Then it was time to exchange information, and we're going back and forth. He's like, I've been thinking about it. Maybe I didn't drive into your car. Maybe you drove into me.
Ooh,
and
I remember that.
Lost my shit on this dude. I went off because to me, and you guys are the same way, that's a gentleman's agreement. We both saw what happened. We didn't need, like, first off, you can't even call the cops here. They're not going to attend. They're not going to come to an accident like that if no one was injured. So it's not like, oh, call the cops. There was nothing else you could do. And then he's like, that didn't happen. You're making things up. And I lost it on him. And then it felt good in the moment. But then I just thought about how I reacted and how I lost my cool. And I was pissed at myself. Actually, I'd walk because I was in Astoria walking up and down. I was like heated. I walked into a church, St. Demetrios, and I went in there for 20 minutes, just kind of breathed a little bit and left, and I felt better, but I was still like really upset with myself for giving that person the ability to make me angry.
There you go.
That's what it was. And then you talked about earlier about like, oh yeah, some people don't know better. Like it's just how they were raised. I saw a guy in the city, and stop me if you've heard this one before, guy yelling out loud in the city, just like, and it was pretty late at night. This was literally last night. And people opening the door and like, shut up, stop yelling. And he's yelling even more, F you, this and that. And a part of me in the past, I might have been like, man, when will this guy shut the hell up? And I did think that, but like, and then I was just thinking, I'm like what you said, this guy doesn't know any better. Because if he knew better, he wouldn't be doing this. And clearly he doesn't know how to work on the, how you do one thing is how you do everything. What's this guy like at work? What's this guy like with his family or with anything else? I'm like, and he needs this attention. So a lot of people just like, when they get angry, they want to put on a show for the world. I view that as like the biggest like weakness. When I see people being angry and being like, look at me, I'm pissed off. I really think in my head, like, what a loser. Always. I'm like, because that's not how you handle it. You can evolve, you can learn, but I think some people love that attention of just like, look at me, I'm justified. Like that's just how they get their kicks in life.
Yeah.
I see it, and but I also have kind of like pity for them too, because I'm like, they probably don't know better.
Would you say anger is the number one emotion that causes people to act out?
Well, again, it could be in that bracket of everything we talked about, of disappointment, being irritated, being betrayed, jealous. I mean, you could put so many words under the category of angry.
Yeah.
And usually if you're just angry, it means you can't express yourself. You're feeling something and you don't know what it is. So just anger.
Yeah.
It's just the easiest
It's
one.
the surface,
You don't have to think.
Yeah. I think there's things
I want to show
that,
you guys something.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, do your
I
thing.
think
Go
there's
ahead.
things that lead to anger, and once you get there, for many people, it's already too late. A lot of people, I don't know if you guys have seen this, like when they get angry, they're getting angry because it feels really good.
Yeah.
Because it leads to an explosion, which leads to peace. And we can get to peace through many different variables, but anger is one of them. That for some people, they use it because it just, like you said, it just feels amazing in the moment, but then it feels really shitty after.
Yeah.
Do you think it feels shitty I feel like some people get angry and they blow up and they're not thinking like, oh, I messed up. I think a lot of people are just like, yeah, that's right. That's how I do. Like that's just how I handle things. And I think a lot of people are proud of themselves for reacting that way.
It takes the edge off, which takes the uncomfortableness out of whatever it is they're actually feeling.
They're not facing themselves, is what
I mean, dude, not for nothing. Like I could speak on it too. Like I've 100% like flipped out on people. Well, even if I'm just driving, dude. Like I've like let out anger. You cut me off. I've let that out, and it takes the edge off of what's being felt. Something as little as that. I think that's what a lot of people are just trying to do, is like take the edge off of whatever it is that's actually coming up.
How long are you living in anger after somebody cuts you off?
Personally, I don't experience that anymore, but I think I'm still programmed to make a remark under my breath.
It's the New York nature.
It's New York nature. And you and I talk about that all the time,
Yes,
I definitely still make remarks under my breath, but nothing as to what I was in the past.
No, I know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really experience that much anymore. I've kind of just been like when driving in New York City, you're going to be cut off. And if you can adopt the mentality that, okay, this person just cut me off, they are looking to do the same thing I'm looking to do, which is get to their destination. They feel like they need a rush. Just let them be. Like that is the equivalent of being able to float when you fucking meditate. Like if you're able to adopt that mentality, dude, like you're next level.
And also don't forget too, they're not cutting off Matt LeBris of Queens, New York, who runs.
It's not personal.
It's not personal, but we take it personal.
Yeah.
And we're like it's almost like they're doing it to me. No matter who was in that car, they would have done it too.
Yeah. I want to show you guys this. You guys know Jason Wilson? I believe that's his last name. From
The basketball player?
No.
the men's.
What's his
advocate.
name? Is it Jason Wilson?
I believe so. Yep, Jason Wilson.
He
Mr. Jason
mentions this
Wilson.
in his book, which is the Wheel of Emotions, and I'll pass my phone around. But like you were mentioning like all of the things. So the surface level emotions or the surface level feelings are happy, surprised, bad, fearful, angry, disgusted, and sad. And I'm sure that each of them could change depending on which wheel you're looking at. So like what's under anger is, if I could zoom this in, is feeling let down, feeling humiliated, feeling bitter, feeling mad, feeling aggressive, feeling frustrated, feeling distant, and feeling critical. underneath that is feeling betrayed, resentful, disrespected, ridiculed, violated, because I can't pronounce the word that's between ridiculed and violated. Sound like Mike Tyson. I feel like Floyd Mayweather.
Hopefully he doesn't hear that on the podcast.
Mike, you want to fight? I'm after Jake. Yeah. Give me the bag. I would not do that, by the way.
Smart.
Yeah,
Violated, furious, jealous, provoked, hostile, infuriated, annoyed, withdrawn, numb, susceptible, and dismissive. Like, that's everything that you could be feeling that leads into that anger.
Never heard this before, and that's wild because I was just like, yeah, it's not just anger.
I think it's spot on because we actually said a lot of these when we were discussing it. Like, we all three of us said these words, and like, so we got to not even the first level or the second, we got to the third.
Yeah.
Which is something to be proud of because it shows where we're at.
I don't look at that enough when I experience an emotion.
This is great.
Right?
You should maybe put this on like your story or something like that because I feel like people would.
I've made a video about it.
Have you really?
Yeah, I've made a video about it. Yeah, man, it's just like.
Oh, this is great.
What we feel isn't like what we actually think we're feeling.
There's levels.
There's levels to
this. There's things that are much, much deeper.
The thing is, you have to have the ability to know why you're feeling that. What have we done 4? Oh no, I skipped one.
I have questions about this. I know we're running past an hour. How much time do we have left?
35 minutes, a little bit less.
Do we have time for a speed round?
Of course.
Because I do like this.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, these are fun. We'll try to be more conscious of like shortening the answers.
We don't need to get through everyone. Like this is good, man.
Okay. Not at all, man.
This is good. This is really good. Go ahead. Who's up next? I just went.
I think it's me again.
Yeah,
we just did 3, right?
4, but yes, I passed on one. I can't believe I lost my pass. I'm the first one ever in history.
So I picked Mindfuck the last time.
What?
Wait, can he pick Mindfuck again or no? Because he did that last time.
You just can't pick Intimacy. And you can't, which one did you pick last time?
Mindfuck.
I guess he only has one choice.
Yeah, you only have one choice. Ooh, I like this game.
That's what it is.
Vulnerable? Oof. Yeah, this cuts deep. What do you think your biggest weakness is?
I could skip you if you want. If you need time to think.
If one of you guys want to fire off first.
Do you have an answer?
I'm letting it marinate.
Okay. My biggest weakness is myself. My biggest weakness is myself. I hate to even admit that, but I think there's so many times I still get in my own way. I think there's so many times I don't realize how capable and equipped I am. I think there's so many times I don't realize what I've produced into this world. I think there's so many times I don't realize like how good I am to people or how much I've grown or anything, man. Like, I hate to admit it, I really am my biggest weakness. I also think to an extent I'm my greatest strength. You know, I think it's a double-edged sword, but you know, that was the first thing that popped in my mind.
Yep.
Is how many times do I get in my own way because consciously or unconsciously I'm thinking about I can't handle this. That's too good for me. I don't deserve this. Like, I don't say that stuff in my head, but maybe I'm feeling it below a certain level, you know, and maybe it comes out a certain way.
I think that's a great answer, man. I think it's an all-encompassing answer, and it shows where you're at because that's the truth. There's not one human on this earth that can say that we don't get in our own way.
Yeah.
Because we're all unstoppable. I mean, even if, regardless of your income, how much financial resource you have, or what country you're in, like, there's a thing called the internet. There's literally, like, if you have a hard time getting food, I understand. And I'm very much so privileged in that sense. I don't have to worry about, you know, I've grown up in an environment. I don't have to worry about a shower or worry about where my next meal is coming from. So I feel for everyone on that level. But if you have those basic necessities, like, you're capable of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just us that holds ourselves back. So I think that's a great answer.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's a great answer.
I wish it wasn't the answer, you know? Like, I think about it and I'm like, man, like...
It's the honest answer.
It is the honest answer.
And sometimes that's the hardest thing to answer.
Yeah.
Is the honest answer. Do you need more time? Are you ready to go?
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Sure.
Philly marinates.
Yeah.
Little,
Philly marinara.
Philly
Marinara. You look like you were ready to go, so I want to let you go.
Yeah. So
gentlemen.
So you said this line, and I was going to lead with this line too. I'd say my biggest weakness is also a strength of mine. It's winging it. I'm really, really fucking good at winging it. Like, really good. Too good. But also, I'm not playing to the level of where I should be playing because I'm winging it a lot. Not with everything.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And the days that I live with a schedule and a plan are way more, they might not be as exciting, but they're way more productive days than the days that I don't. Like, if I know what I'm doing tomorrow and I have like little brackets, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, that's subject to change. But when I know what I'm doing and what my purpose is, then my main goal for the day, I crush it. But there's days where I wake up, I'm like, all right, I got a bunch of stuff to do. I don't really know the order in which I'm going to do them. I have a general idea. Things get done, but I leave a lot out there. And again, I can go into meetings, know some bullet points, and wing it and do really well. And that's the problem, is I've done really well. But I know if I prepare, I take the extra time, and I'm really prepared, I'm going to crush it even more. But because I've tasted that success, I'm just like, I got this. Yeah. Which sometimes can be good, but a lot of times I feel like I left a lot behind. And I'm just like, you know what? Even though that went well, it could have gone better. And that's the internal struggle that I have, is just like, yeah, that went well. And somebody else might be like, that meeting went really well. And I would agree with you. It did go well, but it could have gone great. And it didn't go great. It went well. And you might not know the difference, but I will. And that's what bothers me.
Yeah. I feel like, well, I'm just curious, like, why do you feel like you don't prepare in those moments?
Because I feel like I'm just extremely good about thinking on my feet, and there's also some excitement that comes with just like, all right, what's next?
Sure.
Like, it almost like keeps me sharp in a weird way.
Yeah.
You know? And I have that anyway. So if you have that anyways and you're prepared, then you're unstoppable. But that's one of the things I really like when I do have those days, and again, they're good. Just like, I hit my head on the pillow at night, I'm just like, good day, but could have been better. Yeah, and that bothers me, because then I feel like when I'm not playing up to my level of what I'm capable of, like, I feel that no one else will feel that, no one else will notice that, but I notice it, and that bugs me a lot.
Would you say that there is an inkling of possibility that you don't feel like you deserve to make the amount of progress you're capable if you planned every day?
Repeat that question.
Would you? That was a good question.
That's a good question, man.
I
think that's a good question.
Repeat that again. Yeah.
Would you say there's an inkling of possibility that you don't feel like you deserve to make the progress you would make if you had it every day planned, as opposed to winging it?
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like, which is weird to say, because I feel like I've achieved a lot of success in a lot of different areas in life. And then sometimes when I hold myself back, I'm like, are you afraid of your own success?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
That's real.
It might sound weird to a lot of people. You guys seem to get it, but like, sometimes I'm like, did I purposely hold myself back? I don't know why. But I feel like I've done that a number of times.
Sometimes it's because, or at least for me in the past, sometimes it's because I'm in a certain environment with a certain caliber of people around me, and I'm trying to stay near their, I'm trying to keep my thermometer near a temperature that feels comfortable to them.
Philly Milet.
Exactly.
Philly Milet.
when I know I could go far past it.
I think part of that is true and part of that is an excuse. Like, I agree that, and I don't know. I can't consciously say that I've ever tried to stay the same to keep people in my circle, because I've only kept people in my circle that I view as ahead of me in areas. So that's why I can't fully resonate with the whole temperature thing.
Yeah, when also for context on that, I guess what I meant to say too is that I'll hold back because in certain instances I've held back because I feel bad that they're trying to play a game that they're having a hard time getting to maybe a level at that moment that I'm at. So it's like, it's not that I'm stopping from doing something, it's that I'm almost doing something, but kind of just not telling them, if that makes sense. You know?
Is this different than, I have a feeling, but I'll let you guys answer. Do you feel like this is different than self-sabotaging?
No,
I think it is.
It's directly correlated for sure.
Yeah.
It's okay. So let's say you have a bunch of wins in life, and someone who's near and dear to you is working really, really hard, but having a hard time getting even 10% of the same win that you got. It's happened to me in the past before, where like the nice guy comes out and it says, okay, I don't want to share because it almost feels like it's inhibiting, or it'll make them feel less than. So that's where I was trying to come from with it. But no, I mean, actually, you realize more and more that you need to express that, because it's the best thing you could do for a person. And then you can also, if you truthfully care that much, like they're really that important to you, you reach your hand out and you grab them, and you start to, and you give feedback, and you see how it's taken, but you give feedback. And that can also be another thing where you're afraid to give it because you don't want to come off like you know it all. But you have to assess every situation, and you just do the best you can.
Yeah. How the hell did we get here? What the hell was the question?
Did you answer yet?
No, I didn't.
Where's the card? Where is the card?
Right here.
Oh,
Right here.
that's why I'm
What
like,
do you-
where the hell? Like,
You know, that would be a good clip for, like, if Matt was on Joe. Like, yo, how do we get here?
Yeah.
how did we get?
What do
get
you
to
think
now?
your biggest weakness is? It's the guys did a really good job of explaining, but I think for me, it's a little bit of what Ann said. It's that we can be our own worst critic, because we know what we're capable of. So what does that lead to? It leads to overthinking. I'm a person that I love strategy. Like, I love figuring out solutions to things. It's like a game. Like, I love it. And so with that, I can put a lot of energy into how to figure something out. And instead of maybe moving at the speed that I could move at, if I just gave myself a little grace to not have it be the perfect scenario, I'll take a little more time to have it be that way. And that's with life. You take some lumps, and sometimes I've had some really big wins, and I've had some really big lumps. So that's part of it. I think it's being highly critical, because you want your next situation to be a win that's reminiscent of the past, and not to be, another one to the L or the feedback category. But inevitably, that's what I think my biggest weakness is. And then the biggest strength has been going for it. So I think it's going for it just unapologetically, and just honestly just going for it.
Yeah, I respect it. You're up.
Should I go for it?
Yeah, we have like 15-ish minutes,
Well, it's
give or
interesting.
take.
I can pick either one because
Why could you pick either one? You can't pick vulnerable.
I picked it the last time. So in
Oh,
a
yes, you
unique
can pick.
situation.
Yeah, you're right.
Have we can go mind fuck.
Straight from the top.
What's your most cherished memory? It's actually my first memory. It just I wasn't even 3 years old. I was probably 2.5.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's one
Yeah.
of the questions I ask.
Really?
I'm like, what is the first thing that you remember in life?
Yeah, it's my first memory. And I was about 2.5 years old. And I remember I was just sitting in Astoria outside on my grandma's lap. And I loved cherries. And she was cutting cherries for me and taking out the pits and feeding them to me. I just remember pure bliss. I just remember being like, feeling really happy. And then she's always smiley. And she was a wonderful woman that we lost. I only had her until I was like 3.5. And yet I have all these memories, and people are like, you actually remember, like,
Wow.
yeah, like, I'm like, I remember so much about her.
Yeah.
I remember, multiple times, because I think she just had such a beautiful, like, spirit to her, and just, like, she just radiated, like, just incredible energy. And I just remember, every time I remember being around her, I just remember just her smile being infectious, and me smiling as well. And there's just something about that moment. It's a very defining moment in my life, because it's like, pure innocence, pure love, and just being like, life is good. And I was like 2.5 years old. And I remember that very fondly.
Do you, and you just sparked this question in my mind, because I don't know if this is true for me or not. And I'm trying to think, I'm like, yo, do I actually remember this? Do you feel like seeing, and I'm not referring to recent, only past, like very far past. Do you feel like seeing a picture of you as a child helps you remember a particular moment?
Yes.
Me too.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember I was dressed as a little Evzona. So I was probably 3.
Is that the thing that you have on the pocket square?
Yes. Oh, wow. You're good.
Dude, you were dressed as that?
Yeah, dude.
I have to see that.
Yeah. I was 3 years old. And I remember I was sitting in my grandfather's lap in the kitchen. There's a box of cookies and chocolate there. And I remember that. And then it's not even just like, oh, I'm imagining it. Because then I started piecing together. I'm like, oh, I remember things that happened that day. And I verified it with my parents. And they're like, oh, yeah, that did happen. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that wild?
It is. What's even more wild is the fact that Greeks dress their kids like Pinocchio.
It's not the most badass army attire. I'll tell you that much. That much I can agree with. But yeah, it's wild. It's wild. And then, so we have only, I mean, I'm very fortunate because my dad took so many pictures of us. My dad loves photography, and we have a lot of albums, but nothing compared to what these kids now are going to have. A moment of every day of their lives they're going to pretty much have. So
yeah.
Good way to remember the past.
What's your
Oh,
that's your first ever memory. What's your first ever memory if it's not what's shared there?
What's my first ever memory? I just thought of something, but then I thought of something else afterwards. That's I think when I was younger.
And when was it from? Like, when is it from?
From my childhood, I want to say I was probably 5, 6, 7.
What grade are you in at 5, 6, 7? I don't know the answer to that.
I know.
Probably pre-K.
No, pre-K. Well, for me, I have labor. Pre-K is 3, 4, 5. So I'm around first grade. First grade, I would say.
Same. I'm around that ballpark.
What's your first memory?
First memory for me is kindergarten.
Whoa.
First memory for me is kindergarten.
If this is the overthinker, but if I gave it more time, I could probably tell you a smaller one from when I was younger. But my first memory, I remember that I was sick and I just felt like not good, like I had to throw up. And I just remember I say this, even the story, I said the story recently. My mom has like a sixth sense where I'm down the hall in my room. My parents are down the hall in their room. I don't even know if at this point, maybe I was younger than 5, because I don't even know if Nick was born yet, my brother. But I leave my room and I go to the bathroom and my knee hits the floor because I'm like, I got to throw up. And I have my head in the bowl and I mean, I feel like shit, so bad. And then I don't even hear my mom walk into the bathroom, but I feel almost like Mr. Miyagi. I feel in a clockwise
Ooh, and
motion.
that rub on the back when you're throwing up, bro, that's like medicine.
It's life, bro.
Yeah.
It's life. And I literally, it just made me feel 1,000,000% better because I felt like the absolute worst of the worst in that moment. But how did she even know? Like, yeah, you could say, okay, maybe she heard my door open and things like that. But like, I mean, I didn't even start throwing up yet. My knee just literally touched the ground, and I feel the arm on my back. And like, I remember that to this day. Like, I just think women are so intuitive like that.
Yeah,
Mama knows.
Yeah. My first, we're getting close to the clock here, but I've been talking about this topic so much of like, what is your first ever memory? In fact, I actually talked about it with Dr. Frank when he was here in the studio. And he actually gave some like scientific reasoning as to why we remember certain things and can like recall them pretty easily. But my first memory was in kindergarten. Stephanie Bristol, who was my elementary school crush, at least for a while. Sorry, Steph. But, you know, we were seated in a particular order in kindergarten. Every time during the winter that I could get close to her by putting on my jacket and like really just like making my way closer and closer, I would do that. And I literally remember doing that any chance that I got.
Would the jacket sleeve like touch her?
No, I never did the touch. I never did the touch. I was very politically correct back then. And never did the touch. But I would just find myself next to her all the time. All the time. And then I have other memories like trickled in, like, but like that one is so vivid. But I asked you the question, like, are you able to pull back a memory from looking at a picture? And like, I think that's so possible where it's like, oh, fuck, yeah, I forgot about that. I remember what was happening at this particular time, you know?
It'll be almost like, when you take a picture on an iPhone and it's live and you press it and you see like 3 seconds.
Yes.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
I see like a second
Exactly.
before and a second after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And especially in these old school photo albums, like I'll find in my parents' house, I'll find like a little, like one of those little mini folders, when they would all get the photos.
And the pages stick together.
Exactly.
And they peel them off.
So now when
why are you sticking together, bro?
Sick.
So like I'm not looking at just one photo. I'm looking at 30 in a piece. So it helps me recreate the story as well.
Yeah. Fellas, we've been fucking running for a while.
Oh no, I want to keep going.
It went quick, man.
It went quick. It went quick. I don't even think Phil and I answered this question. What's your most cherished memory?
Oh man, it's hard for me.
Let
to
it marinate.
Let
it marinate.
If you want to go first, it's hard for me to answer because I just have.
We'll answer it next time. We're up against the clock here, guys. Appreciate the both of you.
Always. Phil's still thinking of how he's going to answer the question.
No, I'm laughing because he said for next time.
He won't think about this until the next
The guy
one.
gave me a backhand.
Bro, I didn't answer it either. We're up against the clock. I want to make sure we can break things down. Fellas, appreciate you guys. To you, the person viewing this. To you, the person viewing this. We just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for enjoying this conversation. Thank you for enjoying the entertainment, the fun, the banter, the deep, thought-provoking questions, and everything in between. Really appreciate you rocking with us for, I don't know, an hour plus, right? I mean, Walter, how long have we been going? Like, over an hour and a half of just content. I just wanted to say thank you to you for being here. If you feel compelled to share this episode with someone in your life, I'm putting it on your heart and on your mind to do so. Click that share button, drop it in your group chats, whatever you have to do to spread the word with someone that you might need it. Maybe there's a particular part of this episode someone in your life can hear and change or transform or whatever it is. Maybe they just want to be seen or heard or felt like they're a part of something and not isolated. So I'm provoking you, or putting it on your heart, I should say, to share this episode. As mentioned, you can catch all of these on YouTube. If you have not yet, make sure you are subscribing to the channel. Until next time, everyone, be blessed. Peace.